You are listening to Radio Long Island City, recorded at our studios near Hell Gate, 9 kilometers north of the Harbor Hill Moraine. And now, the Observatory. The Observatory, Saturday the 2nd of August, 2025. It is 43 days after the summer solstice. It is 51 days before the fall equinox. By the French Republican calendar, it is the 15th day of Thermidor, the day of the brebis, the ewe. The sun rises today at 5:54 a.m. Solar noon takes place today at 1:02 p.m. The sun sets today at 8:10 p.m., civil twilight ends at 8:40 p.m., and nautical twilight ends at 9:18 p.m. The length of daytime today is 2 minutes, 4 seconds shorter than yesterday. The moon is in its waxing gibbous phase and is 61% full at midday. The full moon will arrive on Saturday, the 9th of August. These are the predicted tides today for Horn's Hook. In the early morning, high tide, 5 a.m., 1 meter 16. In the late morning, low tide, 11:06 a.m., 30 centimeters. In the evening, high tide, 5:22 p.m., 1 meter 40. Near midnight, low tide, 11:51 p.m., 24 centimeters. In our shared realm of plants and animals, it is a hard time to be a nasturtium here in the city. They do not thrive in the heat, and so they look sad, yellow, and wilted. But our climate is too cold in the winter to allow for a fall sowing. Hard frosts are their undoing. And so they do best planted here early in the spring, so they can germinate and grow to some size before the dog days of summer arrive. And if they are planted in partial shade, they'll do even better in the heat. If they do make it through August, however, they are surprisingly resilient and will come into their own as cooler days arrive. And then they will flourish and bloom right to the first frost. Commemorations. In the early days of August 1492, as the deadline approached for the expulsion of the Jews from Spain, Sultan Bayezid II of the Ottoman Empire sent the Ottoman Navy to offer Jews transport to his empire. Those who accepted his offer traveled mainly to the cities of Thessaloniki and Izmir on either side of the Aegean Sea. Let us remember this act of welcome to refugees from the 15th century. On this day in 1790, the first United States Census began. The process of counting the population, which is mandated by the Constitution, would take 9 months. The total population of the United States in 1790 was 3,929,214. Given the historical period, the number of the enslaved was also recorded. 697,624 were enslaved. That's 18% of the population. New York City had 33,131 inhabitants. On this day in 1865, Alice's Adventures in Wonderland was published by Lewis Carroll. Adventures of Dictators. On this day in 1990, Saddam Hussein's Iraqi forces invaded Kuwait. This would precipitate the First Gulf War, which ended in Iraq's defeat and the freeing of Kuwait. Today we remember Wah Ming Chang, born in Honolulu on this day in 1917. The American designer and artist worked in theater, film, and television. Probably his most famous film props were those he designed for the first Star Trek series. He created the tribbles using artificial fur stuffed with foam. He designed the tricorder. But his design for the Star Trek communicator has had the greatest impact, as it inspired the shape of the flip phone, the dominant form of cell phone, for more than a decade. We also remember today James Baldwin, born in Harlem on this day in 1924. A novelist and critic, he became a passionate voice for racial justice. He lived much of his life overseas, escaping the sexual and racial oppression he experienced in the United States. But he frequently returned to the U.S., once describing himself as a transatlantic commuter. He held an unflinching mirror to American society. In 1965, he said this at a conference at the New School: "I know a story which America denies. And it denies it for the very good reason that my story, once told, confronts it with the truth about itself. In fact, my story, once told, will liberate America. The possibility of liberation, the necessity of becoming responsible for one's own life, is what most people profoundly fear. And that is the Observatory, Saturday, the 2nd of August, 2025.